Welcome. Please comment where you're watching from in the world. Okay, so let me just say this. I fully did this to myself. Because I know what omakase is. I know it's a 2-hour hostage situation with fish. And yet, I still agreed to do it with a man from Raya. That's on me. So I match with this guy, let's call him Nick, from New York. Finance. Obviously. He's cute in that I yell at interns for fun way. Decent profile, decent banter, no shirtless mirror selfies, so my standards were met. We decide to meet at a bar in River North before dinner. We go to this spot where all my friends work, which should have been my first safety net, not just the place I recently lost my wallet. I get there, he's already sitting. He stands up, hugs me, smells like expensive cologne and generational wealth. Whatever. He goes, "Want a drink?" I say, "I'm okay actually. I don't really feel like drinking tonight." He nods and orders for himself, Casamigos on the rocks with an orange slice. Okay, weird, but we move. He downs that in like 3 sips. Then, right before we leave, he orders a shot of Don Julio. Just for himself. That's 2 strong drinks in maybe 20 minutes. I'm sipping water from my sad little straw like the designated driver I did not sign up to be. We leave to go to omakase. Sushi by Scratch, tiny space, kind of speakeasy vibes, small downstairs room first then the actual bar. On the walk over, he starts love bombing. "You would love my place in Naples. My sister would be obsessed with you. My mom would literally die if I brought you home. Sir, we just met. You don't know my last name, and you're planning a family group chat." We get to the restaurant, and they bring us to this tiny waiting room. It's cute, intimate, romantic. Horrible idea. He looks around and loudly says to the host, "Is this where we're sitting? Because I'll leave right now." Everyone stares. I want the ground to open, swallow me, and take the omakase deposit with it. They eventually move us to the main omakase bar. It's a U-shaped counter, chefs in the center, 12 seats, everything quiet and precise. We get sat at the end, thank God. On one side of us is this adorable duo of guys, AJ and his friend, who are immediately friendly and normal. I would have traded places and dated either of them in a heartbeat. The chef hands us the first bite. It's this beautiful little piece of fish. I'm about to finally relax when Nick leans over the bar and goes, "Hey Kamikaze, this is Yellowtail, right?" He is talking to the Japanese chef. I literally choke on air. I nudge him, whisper, "You can't say that. What is wrong with you?" He just laughs like he made a clever joke and takes another bite. Drink count. They're pouring us sake pairings with each course. I'm sipping politely. He's knocking them back like water. He keeps sitting up out of his chair, yelling down the bar, trying to make jokes with strangers like, "How's everyone's sushi? We vibing." Nobody asked for audience participation. At one point he leans over to me and mutters, "I think those gay guys are staring at me." He means AJ and his friend. They are very obviously staring at me, because they literally just complimented my dress. "They're not staring at you," I say. "You're just loud." Every time the chef presents something, Nick has a comment. Mispronounces everything. Corrects the chef on what cut of fish it is, incorrectly. Calls the rice mid-speeds through his tasting, then complains he's not getting enough. I keep grabbing his sleeve, pushing him gently down into his seat, like I'm restraining a toddler in a booster chair. I make one bathroom break, then another. Not because I have to pee, but because I'm checking every hallway for a back exit, like I'm in a heist movie. Spoiler, there is no back exit for patrons. You will finish your omakase. You will suffer politely. I come back from the second bathroom trip, and he's halfway out of his seat again, telling the chef some story about bottle service in Ibiza. The whole bar is stiff and silent. The knives are gleaming under the lights, and I swear one of the chefs has murder behind his eyes. I sit back down and just smile tightly. We finally hit the last few courses. I order my Uber before dessert hits the bar. I'm not playing games. As soon as the last piece goes down, I'm putting my chopsticks away like we're speed running. He pays. Of course he does. He practically announces it to the room. I got it. I make good money. As if that excuses his entire personality. We walk upstairs and toward the door. My Uber is literally outside. I am free. Sort of. "Can we talk outside for a second?" he asks. I sigh. "Sure." For a second. We step outside. It's chilly, that Chicago wind hitting my soul. "So are we hanging out after this?" he asks. He's swaying a little. He had to brace himself on the stair rail to get up here. I look him dead in the eyes and say, "No. You are never going to see me again." He blinks, shocked like the concept is new. "What? Why? We had a great time." "No, I say calmly. You got hammered, yelled across a quiet restaurant, insulted the chefs, said slurs, complained nonstop, and made everyone uncomfortable. I don't want to do this again. He starts in with the begging. Come on, I'm just from New York, that's how we are. I'll be better next time. I really like you. I see something with you. My Uber driver is watching us through the windshield like it's reality TV. I just open the car door, say, have a good night, and get in. He texts me while I'm still in the car. I'm sorry, you're such a great girl, I really fumbled, followed by a paragraph of excuses. I block him. When I get home, I call this other guy I'd been talking to, soft-spoken dude from Texas. When I call, he's literally doing fantasy football with his mom on speaker. Polite, sober, sweet. Total opposite energy. And that, honestly, saved New York men from being permanently banned in my mind. It starts pretty normal. We've been chatting for a bit, he seems nice enough. Small town in the States, not many options, so you sort of have to lower the bar from soulmate to owns a bed frame. He insists on picking me up. I usually never let men pick me up on a first date. I'm from London originally, my mum is Pakistani, my life has been one long TED talk about safety. But this one time I think, okay, it's a small town, public place, I'll be fine. He pulls up, big smile, very I'm such a good guy energy. I get in the car, we do small talk. He drives us to this nice little bar/restaurant in town, dim lights, candles on tables, the kind of place you'd take your parents to prove you're doing well. We sit down and he goes, do you want a drink? I say, I'll just have a glass of wine, thanks. He orders a glass of wine for himself, and a shot. Knocks the shot back like water. I'm thinking, bit fast there, lad, but okay. We start talking. It's actually decent conversation. He's funny, I'm laughing, he's asking questions, making eye contact. Then he says he needs the bathroom, and disappears. I sit there, sipping my wine. He comes back, sits a bit too close, hand on my knee, then my shoulder, then the back of my neck when I turn my head. He's a foot taller than me easily. I'm trying to keep it light, keep it cute, but I'm suddenly very, very aware of how small I am compared to him. We order a second round. I get another wine. He does wine, and another shot. Bathroom again. He's gone a bit longer this time. I'm just there, staring at the candle on the table, doing risk assessments in my head like a health and safety form. When he comes back, his pupils look wrong. Bright. He's talking a bit faster. I say very calmly, hey, I just want to mention, you've had a lot to drink and you drove us here. So I'm not really comfortable with you driving me home later. He leans in, all earnest. No, I get it. I would never put you in danger. I'll order you an Uber, I promise. I don't want you to feel unsafe with me. He says all the right things, in theory. So I let myself relax a little. We go back to talking. Somehow we're in a deep conversation about childhood, careers, mental health. He's got that American vulnerability thing going, oversharing for intimacy points. I'm doing that British thing where I say something mildly traumatic and then make a joke about it. Then he orders a third round. I don't. I say I'm fine. I want to drive my life home in a straight line, thanks. He does not need more alcohol. He gets a third wine, another shot. At this point, that's 6 drinks plus however many bathroom breaks. He starts calling his friends mid-date, just randomly. Bro, you won't believe this girl I'm with, she's so amazing. I'm sitting right there like, hello, I can hear you. I'm not a Pokemon. He goes to the bathroom again. I'm sitting there, staring at my reflection in my phone screen, thinking, something is off. This is not just alcohol. He comes back buzzing. Literally buzzing. Leg bouncing, eyes too bright, talking too fast. Then he leans in, drops his voice, and says, I want to be honest with you about something. I brace myself. Married? Kid? Secret girlfriend? Debt? My friends, they got me into cocaine. He says it like he's telling me he just discovered oat milk. I just blink at him. I'm not an addict, he rushes on. I've spent like, $500 on it this week, but I can stop anytime. I'm not like one of those people. I just do it at night, with the boys, just to keep the party going. My brain is doing long division. $500. This week. In a town with 3 bars and a Walmart. I ask, quietly, have you been doing it tonight? He hesitates. Then, yeah, in the bathroom. I wanted to be honest with you because I respect you. I look at him. Then I look at his empty shot glass. Then I look at the door. Every part of my body is going, get out. Get out now. Out loud, I say calm as ever, right? Okay, I appreciate you telling me, but I'm really not comfortable with this. He launches into a whole speech. How he's not like other coke users, how he has it under control, how it helps him be productive. He's literally advertising a Class A drug to me like a supplement. Meanwhile, I am running calculations. I'm a small woman. He's high, drunk, and much stronger than me. He drove. He knows where I live. We're in a bar, yes, but it's not that busy. Our server comes by. She slows down, looks at me properly, and says softly, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need anything?" I swear I could have hugged her. I say, "I'm fine, thank you," because my autopilot is stupid and British. But she leans in a little closer and adds, under her breath, "If you need a ride later, I'm off soon. I can stick around." Angel. Absolute angel. He goes to the bathroom yet again. This time I pull out my phone and text our group chat. Emergency. Please someone pick me up from bar name. Now. One friend doesn't answer. Another doesn't. Finally my ride or die replies. On my way. He comes back, more jittery, more intense. I tell him, "Hey, my friend's coming to pick me up. I'm gonna head home." He freezes. Then the begging starts. "Please don't go. We were having such a good time. Don't let one little thing ruin this. I really see something with you. You don't even know me yet. You're judging me like all the others." I say, "It's not one little thing. You drank way too much. You've been doing coke in the bathroom. You drove me here. And you didn't tell me any of this beforehand. That's disrespectful to me and to my safety." He scoffs, looks away, then back. "You don't get it. I'm being honest with you. That's a good thing. Most guys would hide this. I would prefer you just not be high on our first date." I say, "Call me crazy." He's spiraling now. "You're letting your past trauma get in the way. I'm not those guys. You can't just leave because of one thing. Give me another hour. I'll prove it to you. I'll stop Monday. I'll show you I can stop." I stand up. My hands are shaking a bit, but my voice is steady. "I'm going home. I don't want to talk about it anymore." Our server appears again, like she's been watching for the cue. I tell her quietly, "My friend's outside, I'm leaving. Thank you so much for checking on me." She nods, gives me this reassuring look like, "Good girl. Go." Outside, my friend's car is waiting. I get in, close the door, and immediately feel my whole body drop about 3 inches from relief. As we drive away, my phone lights up. Paragraph. 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 "I'm so sorry. You're such an amazing girl. I really fucked up. You don't understand. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not an addict. You're overreacting. We had such a connection." The next morning, there's an essay waiting for me. He still doesn't see how he disrespected me. Justifications, mental gymnastics. I made it home fine, see? I told you I can handle it. I reply once. I'm not interested in continuing this. You put me in an unsafe situation and minimized it. I deserve better than that. Please don't contact me again. He sends another long message explaining why I'm wrong. So boom. I moved to DC from Lagos about 3 years ago. I don't really know anybody. I'm still learning which parts of the city will humble you and which ones will kill you softly with rent. All my coworkers are like, "Girl, just get on the apps. Everybody meets on the apps now." Me, innocent immigrant mind, I say, "Okay, let me join them." I download one of the apps, Hinge, Bumble, AI, whatever. They're all the same demon with different logos. I'm swiping, swiping, swiping. A lot of gym, brunch, travel boys. A lot of men whose only personality trait is 6 feet 2 inches, if that matters, winking face. Then I match with this one guy. We'll call him Ryan. He is tall, beard lined up, nice smile. Pictures in suits, brunch, little dog. The usual DC starter pack. He messages me first, uses full sentences, didn't say WY, or what that mouth do, so already he's ahead of the competition. We chat for about a week. He seems normal, works in tech, which could mean anything from cybersecurity to turning computers off and on again. He finally says, "Let's grab a drink this weekend." I say okay, because what is life without vibes? We pick a bar somewhere in the city, one of those places that's shaped like a horseshoe. The bar wraps around so everyone can see everybody. I get there first. I'm dressed cute, jeans, corset top, boots, face beat but not too serious. Soft glam, not Sunday Owambi glam. I sit at the middle of the horseshoe, so I can see the door. Safety, darling. He walks in 5 minutes later. He looks like his photos, praise be. He smells good. He hugs me. We sit. The bartender asks what we want. I order something light. He orders something dark and expensive, trying to impress both me and the bartender. We've been talking for maybe 5 minutes. You hear me? Not 10. Not 20. 5. I'm mid-sentence, telling him how DC traffic is organized wickedness, when I notice the bartender's eyes flick over my shoulder. Then the people next to us stop talking. You know that feeling when the energy in the room shifts? That silence that's somehow loud? I turn my head. My sister. There is a woman at the door. She is wearing Cookie Monster pajama pants. You know the blue one with the big eyes? Yes. That one. On her legs. In public. At night. She has a bob wig that has seen some things. She has a half grill in her mouth, only the bottom teeth, shining like small demons. And she is dragging 2 full suitcases behind her. Not carry-ons. Full. Big. Airport size. She is scanning the bar like TSA. I face forward again, because I don't want Walla. Maybe she's lost. Maybe she's on her way to Union Station. Maybe she's a figment of my imagination. Then I hear it, in that loud, echoing, DMV accent that sounds like a drumline. Ryan, you don't see me? My heart did bim. I turn slowly like a CCTV camera. She is standing directly behind him now. Close. Deathly close. Suitcases flanking her like bodyguards. She is looking at him, then at me, then back at him. In my head I'm like, Father Lord, this cannot be about this man beside me. I just met him. I did not eat from his pot. I did not borrow his hoodie. I don't even know his middle name. Ryan stiffens. He doesn't turn around. His shoulders rise up to his ears. He stares straight ahead at his drink like it holds the answers to life. She takes 1 step closer. So you don't see me, ABI? You know they see me? She looks at me. I don't have no beef with you, sweetheart. But this right here? She taps his shoulder. This is my husband. My ears start ringing. The whole bar goes quiet. Bartender stops mid-pour. The music feels like it turns down on its own. Every single person is staring at us. I'm just there, holding my glass, frozen, like a side character in someone else's Nollywood film. Husband, you say? Ryan finally turns slowly, like a malfunctioning robot. What are you doing here? He whispers. She laughs, this big, joyless laugh. What am I doing here? Oh, you want to know what I'm doing here? She drops the handles of the suitcases. My God. She unzips the first one with unnecessary drama. The sound of the zipper is so loud it might as well be on microphone. She flips the lid open and starts pulling things out like a magician. Underwear. His underwear. Boxers, briefs, all styles. One by one she throws them on the bar, on him, on the floor. Since you wanted to pack your shit and leave, she says. I said let me help you. The bartender's mouth is open. He is physically backing away from the pile of fabric like it's contagious. From the second suitcase, she pulls out a vacuum-sealed bag of weed. Then another. Tosses them on top of the underwear, like garnish. Oh, you thought you were gonna move out and start your lil single man life, smoke your lil weed, bring girls to bars like you don't have a whole wife at home. At this point, I am one more revelation away from walking straight into oncoming traffic. In the middle of all this, she starts twerking. I am not joking. Right there, in the horseshoe of the bar, Cookie Monster ass in the air, yelling. Yeah, I caught you now. This my husband. All this is shit. Y'all see this? Panties in the air. Weed on the counter. Her bob is shifting. Her grill is shining. People are recording. It's a circus. I just sit there, perfectly still. Because at this moment, any sudden movement might implicate me. I am trying to look as innocent and invisible as possible. I am holding my drink like it is communion. Ryan is stuttering. Babe, calm down. Don't call me babe, she snaps. Did you tell her you married? Did you tell her you left the house this morning saying you were staying at your cousin's? She points at me again. I'm not mad at you, sis. You didn't know. But he knew. And honestly, that's the worst part. She is clearly hurt. Angry, yes, but under everything, there is that raw humiliation of someone who loved a man that does not fear God. I suddenly feel weirdly sorry for her. And mad for both of us. The bartender finally gathers the courage to speak. Ma'am, you can't have that here, he says, gesturing weakly at the weed and the raining boxers. She looks at him like he's the smallest problem in the room. Charge his card for whatever she had, she says, pointing at me. And then close my tab too, since he likes paying for things in public. At that point, I quietly turn to the bartender. Can I get my check, please? I ask, very calm, like this is just a regular Tuesday. He nods with this tiny look of sympathy. I got you, he says. You good? I nod. By the grace of God. As he prints my check, Suitcase wife is still narrating the history of their relationship, how long they've been together, things she's done for him, things he's promised her. Every sentence is like another stone thrown at his head. He is shrinking in the seat, sweating, not saying much now. All that DC swagger evaporated. Just one sad, damp man in a sea of his own underwear. I tap my card sign and slide off the stool. I turn to her and say, "I'm really sorry. I genuinely didn't know." She looks me up and down, then nods once. "I know you didn't," she says. "But watch these DC men. They will embarrass you." "Clearly," I say. I don't say goodbye to Ryan. For what? He can greet the consequences of his actions. I step outside, inhale the cool night air, and immediately call my friend. "How was the date?" she asks. I just start laughing. That hysterical, half-cry laugh. "Babes," I say, "I need to start dating out of state. Or maybe out of continent. Because DC has finished me." So this was a few years back. I was just getting back into the dating pool, right? And by pool, I mean that sad little kiddie inflatable one with a hole in it. I match with this guy from Texas who's working temporarily in New Orleans. He's cute, tall, big smile, real yes ma'am, no ma'am energy. We'll call him Bob. Now, Bob only gets like one day off every couple of weeks 'cause of his job, so he's like, "We should go out on Bourbon, hit a few spots with my co-workers." And I'm thinking, okay, group setting, public street, my city. What's the worst that could happen? I'd like to apologize to the universe for that thought. We meet in this big pay-to-park lot near the quarter. He tells me to text him when I get there so he can pay for my parking, gentleman points. He finds my car, pays at the little machine, we print the ticket, stick it on my dash. I literally say out loud, "All right, we're good," which in hindsight was a curse. First bar, Coyote Ugly. Very on brand for Bourbon. We're having a great time, drinks, dancing, talking. He's sweet, not creepy. I'm genuinely enjoying myself. One of the girls with us is a bartender in New Orleans, so she's like our tour guide of bad decisions. Then she goes, "Oh my God, you have to ride the cock." I said, "The what?" "Y'all, it's a mechanical bull. But it's a chicken. A giant mechanical chicken. And because I don't value my own life, I get on it. Dress, boots, the whole thing. There are videos. I will never show them to you. We bar hop, we're laughing, we're dancing in the street, he's buying me drinks. It's honestly a fun, messy, classic New Orleans night. Time flies. Suddenly it's like 4 in the morning. The energy drops. People get sloppy. You can feel Bourbon start tinning from fun bad to actual bad. We're at this last club, and I look over at Bob. This man is gone. He is sitting on a bar stool, head drooping, eyes closed, like your uncle after Thanksgiving. I'm trying to get his attention, shaking his arm like, "Hey, I think it's time for us to head out." He swats my hand away. Not playful. Not cute. Full-on irritated smack. My brain goes, okay. No. Absolutely not. I try again. "Hey Bob, let's go." Swats again. "Stop, I'm fine," he mumbles. Right there I make a decision. I am leaving this man at this bar. I don't care if he's mad. I am not babysitting a 6-foot drunk Texan who thinks swatting women is acceptable communication. Then reality hits. My car is a 19-minute walk away. It's almost 4:30 a.m. On Bourbon. By myself. I pull out my phone and start the please pick up tour. One friend, no answer. Another, no answer. Finally, my girl Emma. Sweet, beautiful Emma answers like, "Hello? Emma, I need you to stay on the phone with me while I walk to my car, 'cause I gotta leave this man here before I end up a Dateline episode." So I tell Bob I'm going home. He half waves me off, doesn't follow, nothing. I leave him sitting in that club, swatting at the air. I've got my little stun gun in my hand, on the phone with Emma, walking through Bourbon like I'm in an apocalypse movie. Streets half dead, half chaotic. Trash everywhere, drunk people fighting with their shoes off, random men hollering, "Hey baby," and I'm like, "Not tonight, Satan, I am busy trying not to die." We get to the lot, and from a distance I see something on my windshield. I tell Emma, "Girl, I think there's a boot on my car." I get closer. Yup. Big, ugly, yellow boot clamped on my wheel. At 4 a.m. in New Orleans. After I paid. I just stand there for a second like, cool. So this is where I live now. In this parking lot. With the rats. There's a number on the sticker. I call it. Some man answers half asleep. I tell him, they booted my car but I paid to park. He's like, "You got the receipt?" I'm like, "Sir, I got a whole receipt and the Lord is my witness, come get this thing off my car." While I'm waiting on Bootman, I call Bob. Because at this point, I still have that good girl upbringing that worries he'll be outside somewhere in a ditch. He answers and says, "I got jumped." I'm like, "Okay, sure, buddy." I think he's probably just drunk and being dramatic cause he doesn't want to pay for the boot. Bootman finally shows up, grouchy, starts arguing with Bob on speaker about how I must not have paid. I show him the printed ticket and the bank charge. They go back and forth until Bootman reluctantly frees my wheel. I'm still on the phone with Emma. She is fully invested at this point. I turn the camera around when Bob walks up. Y'all, he is covered. In blood. Like movie level. Head to toe. Face, shirt, everything. Somebody really did jump him. Beat the cowboy out of him. He's stumbling, mumbling about how it came out of nowhere. I'd feel bad if I wasn't so tired and on the verge of pissing myself. Bootman leaves. Bob gets in my car like nothing's wrong and goes, "You still coming back to the hotel with me?" I said, "Baby, look at you. You look like a crime scene. I am going home." He starts with, "Please don't be mad at me. I don't want you to think I'm a bad guy. I swear I don't usually get this drunk. I have been too nice all night. It ends here." I tell him, "I'm driving you to your hotel cause I'm not leaving you on the street like this, but after that, I am going home and never seeing you again." We argue the entire ride. At one point I pull down the wrong way on a one-way street, stop the car, and say, "Get out, so I can turn around." He finally gets out, whining, "I hate that you think this of me." I just smile, lock the doors, flip the car around, and peel off. Now it's like 5:30 a.m. I have another more urgent problem. I have to pee. Not, "Oh, I could go." No, it's DEFCON 1. I am about to see God. I get off at the next exit looking for a gas station. First one, restroom out of order. Second one, employees only. Third one, door locked, man behind bulletproof glass just shrugs at me. I am literally dancing in place, calling Emma again like, "Girl, I'm about to lose this battle." Finally I find this one station with a man working behind glass. I'm almost in tears like, "Please, I have been out all night. I just need a restroom, I'm begging you." He says, "Restroom is for employees only." At this point, Jesus himself must have sent me an angel, because another young guy who was pumping gas nearby comes over, sees my face, and goes, "Look, I got sisters. If you need to, you can go back there behind those dumpsters. I'll stand guard. I won't look." So there I am, at sunrise, in some random lot, squatting behind a dumpster while a stranger stands facing the street like a Secret Service agent. Classy. I finish, thank him like he just saved my life, get back in my car, windows down, music blaring, AC on full blast so I don't fall asleep. Road is quiet, sky pink, I'm cracked out tired, laughing and crying on the phone with Emma. I pull into my driveway at exactly 8 a.m., in last night's clothes, makeup half gone, smelling like Bourbon Street, sweat, and struggle. And that, Cher, was my first date back in the dating scene. I am still single. And frankly, after that night, I understand why. In my head, this all still starts with that green IRC window and the sound of my modem screaming at the phone line. It was 2003. I was 21, living in a cramped flat in Manchester that always smelled faintly of damp and cheap curry from downstairs. I worked a dead-end IT helpdesk job, came home, microwaved something beige, and spent my nights hunched over a beige PC with a fat CRT monitor buzzing like a beehive. Real life was painfully average. The internet felt like the interesting bit. I basically lived in a few IRC channels back then. You had your regulars, your trolls, your ASL, weirdos. We all knew most of the girls, and there were probably 40-year-old blokes in tracksuits, but no one said it out loud. That was part of the magic. If the username said GothGirl22, you just went with it. And then there was Taylor. Her nick was the title of some emo song with XS and numbers thrown in. In PM she told me her real name was Taylor, 22, somewhere down south. She had dyed black hair, bright blue eyes, facial piercings, and lived in black band tees. Basically the exact girl I'd have stared at from a distance in real life and never spoken to. We slid into private chats, almost without noticing. One night we were arguing about which album was better. A week later we were there every evening, just us in that little gray box, talking about everything and nothing. The old internet didn't have FaceTime or video calls you could spin up in 2 seconds. If you wanted to prove you were real, you had to get creative. At some point, she suggested verification pics. We'd both seen horror stories about catfishing even back then. "Write your username on your hand, today's date, and cover one eye," she typed. Harder to fake that. So I did. I stood in my tiny bedroom, wrote my handle and the date across my knuckles in Sharpie, covered my right eye, and snapped a picture with my mom's old digital camera. The flash made me look pale and half dead, but it was proof. She sent one back, a girl with black hair, thick eyeliner, blue eyes, hoop in her lip. Username and date scrawled across her fingers, one eye covered. The background was a cluttered kitchen, fridge covered in magnets, a stack of dishes on the side. It looked so mundane it felt real. That was the moment I stopped quietly assuming everyone was lying. We dated like that for about 3 months. It never went past PG-13, but for me it felt huge. I'd get home, log on, and there she'd be, green dot next to her nick. We'd swap grainy selfies in email, complain about our jobs, send each other lyrics like we were the first people to discover them. I was properly, stupidly in love with a girl I'd never touched. Then one week, she just didn't log on. No BRB. No going away for a bit. Nothing. I checked the channel list every night. No Taylor. I sent emails, first casual, then worried, then borderline pathetic. Hey, are you okay? Did I do something? Just let me know you're alive, yeah? Days turned into nearly 2 weeks. I convinced myself of everything. Her internet had died, she'd lost interest in me, she'd been in a car crash, she'd been fake the whole time. I sat there in the glow of the monitor, refreshing my inbox like an idiot. Then out of nowhere, an email popped up from her address. Hey, hop on IRC. My whole body went cold then hot. I launched mrnightmare so fast my computer wheezed. There she was in the user list, her nick glowing like nothing had happened. She messaged me first. Hey. I fired back a wall of text. Where have you been? Are you okay? I was worried, thought something had happened. She ignored all of it. What's your address? I want to send you something. That should have been a flashing red siren. But this was 2003. Stranger danger on the internet was more of a vague idea than a rule. And this wasn't a stranger, right? This was Taylor, the girl with the blue eyes and the Sharpie on her hand. So I typed my full address. House number, street, postcode. Hit enter. Her reply came back almost instantly. This is Taylor's husband. Stop messaging my girl, or else you'll be next. Just that. No emojis, no LOL. No rage, just flat text. I remember reading it 3 or 4 times before my brain accepted the words. I wrote back some weak nonsense about us just being friends, about not knowing she was married, about respecting boundaries if he really was her husband. No answer. A second later, her nick dropped from the user list. She never logged in again. I didn't sleep properly after that. Every noise in the stairwell made me freeze. The letterbox clattering in the morning nearly stopped my heart. I tried to talk myself down. He was probably just some angry bloke bluffing, trying to scare the kid who'd been flirting with his wife. 2 weeks went by. Things calmed down a bit. Work, buses, instant noodles, repeat. Then I came home from work one evening, and there was a small cardboard box on the doormat. My name and address handwritten. No return address. In the top corner, where you'd normally write one, just a single word. Taylor. I stood there in the hallway for a long time, holding it like it might explode. It didn't rattle. It didn't smell of anything. It was light. Curiosity and dread fought it out. Curiosity won. I took it into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, slit the tape. Inside was packing material, crumpled newspaper. I pushed it aside, hand shaking. At the bottom of the box was a kitchen knife. Plain, stainless steel, handle slightly worn. The blade was coated in something dark and crusted. Reddish brown, flaking at the edges when I nudged it with the cardboard. I dropped the whole box like it had bitten me. From a distance, it didn't look like paint. Didn't look like rust either. You know how dried blood looks on your own cut when you don't clean it properly? It looked like that, scaled up. My first thought was to scrub my fingerprints off everything and chuck the lot in the bin. My second thought was what happens when somebody finds a knife like that in a skip with my address on the box. So I washed my hands, even though I hadn't touched the blade, and called the police. Trying to explain IRC to a uniformed officer in 2003 was embarrassing. I sat in my living room while he took notes, stumbling through the story. Met a girl in a chat room, 3-month online relationship, angry husband, threat, package, knife. I showed him the emails, the printed photos, the box. He took the knife away in a clear evidence bag, the dried stuff on the blade faintly visible through the plastic. He said they'd look into it. They never called me again. I don't know if that was animal blood, fake blood, or someone else's. I don't know if husband was real, or just some psycho enjoying the power trip. I don't know if they ever traced the parcel. What I do know is that every time I get nostalgic about the good old internet, about dial-up screeches and IRC, and how things were simpler back then, I remember the weight of that box in my hands and that single line of text. You'll be next. And I remember that the monsters on the old internet weren't just pop-up ads and slow connections. So this is the story of how I almost got murdered by a stargazing date. Which, is extra rude because the stars are my favorite. I grew up in Nova Scotia, where the most dangerous thing on a Friday night is usually a raccoon in the Tim Hortons parking lot. I'm pretty introverted, reads the cafe menu online before going introverted, but every once in a while I get this little brain glitch that says, let's be spontaneous. That's how Tinder got involved. I'd been swiping half-heartedly for a while when I matched with this guy. Let's call him Cole. Older than me, but not in a creepy way at first. Cowboy boots in every picture. Big truck. Hat in one of them. Very Alberta energy, even though we were out east. He had that overconfident Western swagger, the kind of guy who says little lady, unironically. Our chats were actually kind of cute. He called me Star Girl, because I mentioned I loved constellations. He suggested, we should go stargazing sometime. I know a place out of town where the sky is crazy clear. Any other day, my anxiety would have said, absolutely not, you're not dying in a field for a man with dusty boots. But I was bored and going through a say yes more phase. So I said okay. Important detail, he was legal drinking age. I was legal adultish, but not old enough to buy alcohol. My big rebellious habit at the time was drinking iced coffee after 5 p.m., so he offered to pick me up. Usually I'm very meet you there, public place. My ancestors didn't survive colonization for me to get kidnapped in a Dodge Ram. But again, brain glitch. I texted his license plate to a friend, told her the plan, and went out to meet him. He pulls up in this too big truck, country music way too loud, one arm hanging out the window like he's in a music video. He hops down, opens my door, grins. Hey, Star Girl. Hey, I say, trying not to laugh because he's really committing to the bit. We start driving. It's summer, windows down, the air smells like grass and ocean and faint cow. At first, it's actually nice. He's funny, tells stupid stories about his friends, does this exaggerated cowboy accent that makes me roll my eyes. Then he says, gonna hit the gas station first, grab some drinks. We stop at this sad little station on the highway, fluorescent lights buzzing. I wander the snack aisles while he goes straight to the beer cooler. He comes back with a six-pack and something in a brown bag that clinks heavier. In the truck, he cracks open a beer before we even leave the lot. My Canadian conflict-avoidant self goes, should you be drinking while driving? He laughs. Relax, Star Girl. We're just going up the road. It's fine. Spoiler, it was not fine. We drive another 20 minutes, past the last little subdivision, past the last streetlight, into that special kind of darkness where your brain starts inventing monsters in the tree line. Gravel crunches under the tires as he turns off onto some forestry road I have definitely never seen in my life. He kills the headlights. The stars are insane. Like someone spilled sugar across black velvet. The Milky Way is right there. For a second, I forget to be scared. Then I remember I'm in the middle of nowhere with a man I met on an app, who is on his second beer and reaching for the third. We get out of the truck. The gravel crunches. The night is so quiet I can hear my own heartbeat. He spreads an old blanket on the hood, pats the spot next to him. Come on, city girl, you're missing the show. I'm not a city girl, I mutter, climbing up anyway. We literally have more trees than people. We lie back. He starts naming constellations badly. He calls Orion the sword guy, and insists the Big Dipper is a ladle. I'm correcting him, laughing a little, trying to enjoy it. But with each beer he shifts. Compliments go from, you look really pretty in the starlight, to bet you've never done anything this crazy before, huh? His jokes get sharper, more sexual. His laugh gets louder, echoing oddly in the empty field. He pulls out the mystery bottle from the bag. Whiskey. Of course. Want some? He asks, waving it over my face. I'm good, I say. I'm not, old enough. He smirks. Ah, what's scared? It's just a sip. I shake my head. My stomach's tight. He takes a long pull instead. I hear his throat working, smell the alcohol on his breath, even through the night air. Somewhere out in the dark, something moves. Maybe a fox. Maybe a demon. Honestly, at that point, same difference. He slides closer. His hand lands on my thigh. Too casual, too heavy. So, he says, voice lower, slurred around the edges, When's the last time you did something risky? My brain is suddenly very, very awake. I laugh, but it comes out thin. I think this qualifies. He chuckles, but his grip tightens. Ah, don't be like that. I brought you out here to show you a good time. I thought you brought me out here to see Orion's belt, I say, scooting a tiny bit away. He looks like he needs some space. So do I. He doesn't take the hint. He follows. His jokes stop landing. He keeps making these off comments about my body, about how innocent I seem, about how guys like him are trouble. He says it like a compliment. The stars, which usually make me feel small in a good way, suddenly feel too far away to help. I check my phone. 1 bar of service. Sometimes. My maps won't even load. My emergency, I'm getting murdered in a field, text might not send. I start doing quiet risk assessments. If I tell him to take me home bluntly, will he get angry? If I pretend to feel sick, will he think I'm lying? How fast can I run in these shoes? Answer, not fast. So I go soft. Canadians are professionally gentle. I sit up, wrap my arms around myself like I'm cold. Hey, I'm really sorry, but I'm actually not feeling great. I think I got a bit carsick on the way here or something. He frowns. You're kidding. We just got here. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. It's just hitting me now. My head feels weird. Not entirely a lie, actually. He rolls his eyes. You can just lay back down. You'll be fine. My heart is pounding. I keep my voice small. I really want to go home. I don't want to throw up in your truck. That gets his attention. Men will risk your safety, but not their upholstery. He sighs dramatically. Fine. Whatever. Next time, I'm talking somebody who can hang. There will not be a next time, but I don't say that. The drive back is dead quiet. No music. Just the hum of the engine, and my fingers clenched so tight around my phone my knuckles hurt. Every time he swerves a little, I picture headlines. He pulls up to my place, doesn't get out, doesn't walk me to the door. Just leans over, tries to go in for a kiss. I turn my head so he gets my cheek. Thanks for the stars, I say, already opening the door. He scoffs. Yeah, sure. Guess I'll hit you up sometime. I nod, hop down, and walk to my door very calmly, resisting the urge to sprint. I only let myself breathe once I'm inside with the deadbolt turned. I always joke that Sao Paulo turned me into a cynic and a UX designer turned me into a professional overthinker. Both are true. By the time I met David, I was burnt out on bad dates and even worse interfaces. Gym bros, crypto bros, spiritual bros who treated astrology like a personality tax. I was ready to retire my Bumble account and marry my air fryer. Then came David. Foreign expat, accountant, tidy beard, tidy profile. He messaged in slightly formal Portuguese, the kind of accent you only get from Duolingo and TED Talks. He was steady, calm, boring in a reassuring way. After the emotional roller coaster of my last situationship, boring sounded like premium. Our first dates were safe cliches. Drinks in Villa Madalena, sushi in Jardins, coffee just to talk. He asked questions, listened, remembered tiny details. My favorite Brigadeiro place, the podcast I liked to fall asleep to, the way I always sat facing the door in restaurants. You notice patterns, he said with this approving little nod. That's a useful trait. I thought he meant for design. I didn't realize he was cataloging me. After a month, he suggested a weekend away. Cabin in the woods, he said in that soft Portuguese. Just a few hours from Sao Paulo. Fresh air. Offline. We both need a reset, Neo. Every neuron in my feminist brain went, girl, this is literally how horror movies start. But the part of me tired of traffic and deadlines and endless notifications. That part wanted stars and silence and someone else cooking for once. The cabin was perfect. Too perfect. Rustic wood, crucifixes on the walls, those dusty family photos of strangers that every rented place in Brazil seems to come with. The fridge was stocked with my favorites, Guarana Zero, passion fruit yogurt, pau de queijo. He'd even brought my favorite tea. You mentioned it once, he said when I laughed. I optimize experiences. At first it was cozy. We cooked dinner together, played board games, argued about which telenovela had the most ridiculous plot. We curled up by the fireplace, his arm warm around me, the forest outside buzzing with crickets and distant dogs. I remember thinking, maybe this is what normal feels like. The next day he suggested a hike. There's a better trail, he said, pointing away from the clearly marked one. Less people, better view. The path got narrow fast. Overgrown roots, red clay slippery under my trainers. The canopy swallowed the sky. Somewhere far off a dog barked, then another, then several all at once, and then nothing. Even the howler monkeys fell silent. Maybe we should go back, I said, trying to sound casual. This doesn't look official, you know? We're almost there, he replied, not even looking back. His voice had lost that gentle lilt. It was flat, focused. You said you wanted to get out of your comfort zone. Remember? We came into a small clearing, a patch of churned mud and trampled grass with no view, just trees. No phone signal. No path markers. Just the two of us and the sound of my heartbeat in my ears. That's when he started. At first, it sounded like normal self-help talk. Control. Discipline. Structure. Things he'd heard, I realized with a sick twist, on the very podcast I'd recommended to him. Only now he was remixing it. People like you, he said, eyes fixed on mine. You think freedom is doing whatever you want whenever. But that's chaos. You get anxious, lost, overwhelmed. You need frameworks. Systems. Someone to design the experience for you. He stepped closer, too close. His whole vibe had shifted. The sweet, slightly awkward expat was gone. In his place was something colder, clinical. A man presenting a quarterly report. He started listing my weaknesses like bullet points in a slide deck. You overcommit. You're easily swayed by emotion. You lack consistency in your sleep schedule. He actually said that. In a forest. Like my circadian rhythm was a KPI. Every time I tried to interrupt, he gently, firmly pressed me back down onto a fallen log with his hand on my shoulder. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to say, stay put. You need someone to make decisions for you, he said softly, like a priest giving absolution. Someone who won't let you sabotage yourself. The forest felt wrong. Too still. The air thick. I could smell damp earth, his cologne, and underneath it all, something like iron. I switched into survival mode, laughing a little, nodding, asking questions the way I do in user interviews when I want someone to keep talking. You think you're that person? I said, forcing my voice not to shake. He smiled, small and satisfied. I am very good at optimization. Hours passed in that clearing. The sun slid behind the trees, shadows stretched long and thin. My legs were numb, my back aching, but every time I shifted, his hand tightened. Finally, as the light died and the cold crept in, he blinked, like coming out of a trance. Okay, he said, bright again. We should head back. You're cold. You always forget a proper jacket. He'd noted that too. Of course he had. Back at the cabin, I played the girlfriend. I cooked, I laughed, I let him kiss me. My brain was sprinting while my body moved through the motions. I waited until his breathing turned heavy and even. At first light, I got up. I packed quietly, quickly. Phone, charger, wallet, jacket. I wrote a note in big dramatic telenovela handwriting. My May is in hospital. I had to go. I'm sorry. Something that would distract him just long enough. Then I ran. The forest looked different in the morning. Less sinister, more ordinary. Birds shrieked overhead, insects buzzed, leaves slapped my face as I pushed through. I followed the sound of a distant road, the memory of the way in. My lungs burned, legs shaking, but I didn't stop. Eventually, I stumbled onto asphalt. A dusty side road, already warming in the sun. A beat-up Fiat came into view, driven by an older woman with a plastic rosary swinging from the mirror. I waved like a crazy person. She stopped, took one look at my face, and opened the door. Entra filha. What happened? I burst into tears. I gave her the short version on the way to the nearest town. At the tiny police station, I tried to give the long version. They listened. They wrote things down. But when it came to action, it was the same old story. He hadn't hit me. He hadn't locked me up. There were no bruises, no knife, just my terror and his words. We can make a report, the officer said. But legally it's complicated. Complicated. Optimized. Controlled. All his favorite words. I went back to Sao Paulo, packed my flat, and moved to another city within a month. New job, new neighborhood, new routines. I never saw David again, but I still catch myself designing escape routes in every room. I still flinch when someone says they're good at taking control. I still sleep better in chaos than in silence. People think monsters live in alleyways, in dark corners, in true crime podcasts. I met Alex on a Sunday night when I was half asleep and doom-scrolling through a dating app, lying in my tiny Southall flat with a half-eaten samosa on my chest. His profile was aggressively normal. Medium cute, likes hiking, craft beer, dog uncle, One photo on a mountain that could have been Wales or a Windows wallpaper. Perfectly bland. Exactly what I thought I needed. By day I'm a paralegal in central London, buried in other people's criminal records. By night, apparently, I'm an idiot who thinks boring equals safe. Our chats were fine. Nothing spicy, nothing weird. He used punctuation and didn't say "you are," which already put him in the top 10%. He said he worked some admin role for a government department, vague, but half of London does something in the public sector, so I didn't think much of it. We met for coffee near Holborn after work. He turned up on time, in a slightly too big navy coat, looking exactly like his pictures. The date was textbook, jobs, families, travel. He asked about my work, and when I said I dealt with criminal case files, his eyes lit up in this weird, nerdy way. "That must be fascinating," he said. "All those patterns." At the time, I thought he meant legal patterns. I didn't realize he meant victim patterns. The first red flag was tiny. I mentioned my mate who worked at the local historical society back near my old secondary school, and his face just dropped, like someone had pulled a plug. Silence, then a clumsy subject change. I wrote it off as him being socially awkward. We all know at least 3 men who short-circuit at the word feelings or history. Second red flag came in the car. He offered to drive me home after a Sunday walk in Richmond. I suggested a detour past my old school, purely for nostalgia. Instantly he stiffened. "Let's not," he said too quickly. "Traffic will be bad that way. I've got work stuff later." Work stuff? On a Sunday evening. For an admin job? Sure, Jan. That night on the bus, with the windows fogged and the CCTV monitor flickering overhead, my stomach finally caught up with my brain. I spend all day reading about people who seemed normal until, and somehow I'd decided I was immune. So I did what any paranoid millennial with Wi-Fi does. I Googled him. Nothing. No socials, no LinkedIn, no company's house, no electoral register under that name. Even private people usually leave something behind. He was a ghost. The next day, on my lunch break, I caved and paid for one of those background check websites I usually laugh at between PPI and injury claim adverts. The report came back while I was on the bus home, pressed between a pram and a man eating crisps too loudly. It had one line that might as well have been written in blood. Legal name Daniel. Prior convictions, multiple counts of stalking, harassment. Victim profiles, female, late 20s, South Asian, West London. I actually laughed at first. Proper hysterical giggle. It felt fake, like I'd clicked into some dodgy ad. Then I saw the old case number. I recognized the format. My format. Crown Court. The more I dug, the worse it got. Old local news articles. Court records. Restraining orders. And buried in a bundle of PDFs, a mention of my old school. My borough. Freedom of information requests about the local historical society. He hadn't just picked me. He'd researched me. For weeks. Maybe months. I didn't text him. I didn't confront him. I just vanished. Blocked his number, unmatched him, changed my commute, stayed with my cousin for a bit. Told my mum I was working late, when really I was checking reflections in every bus window, studying every silhouette just outside the halo of a street lamp. For a couple of weeks, nothing happened. I started to feel stupid, dramatic. Maybe it was old data. Maybe he'd changed. Maybe. Then the package arrived. No sender, no note. Just a plain brown envelope waiting on my doormat when I got home from a night shift at the office. I almost stepped on it. Inside was a single photo. Me. In my Southall living room. Hair up, glasses on, sitting cross-legged on my sofa with a blanket, reading a file for work. The shot was through my window. You could see the reflection of my fairy lights in the glass. My hands went cold. I don't remember picking up my phone, but I remember my voice shaking as I said the words I spend all day writing in statements. I believe I am being stalked. I have prior evidence of risk. This time the police listened. Prior convictions make paperwork move faster. They took the photo, my background report, everything. A few days later, they called. They'd found him. Daniel. Living in a tiny rented room, less than 10 minutes walk from my flat. On his laptop, FOI requests about my school and historical society. Screenshots from my mum's Facebook. Zoomed-in stills from CCTV, following me across central London. He's back in prison now. Different number, same pattern. It's been years. I'm still in therapy. Still the girl who won't draw the curtains up, only across, because I don't like giving anyone a clean angle. I run background checks on men, if they so much as ask my favorite color. I know which corners don't have functioning CCTV. I know which buses give you the best view of who's following. I had just decided that if I was going to be exhausted, I might as well be exhausted in nice shoes with good lighting and men who at least pretend to have money. I'm from Buenos Aires, I live in Miami now, and I have seen enough telenovelas to know when a man is lying, usually. This one slipped past the radar for a minute. I'm at this lounge in Brickell. Low lights, reggaeton remixes, waiters who look like models. I'm at the bar, minding my drink and my business, when the bartender slides another glass next to me. "From the gentleman over there," he says. I look. Middle-aged, salt and pepper beard, dress shirt rolled up just so, watch that definitely costs more than my flight from Ezeiza. He raises his glass at me, very suave, very I close deals before breakfast. I go over because, I'm not rude. He stands up when I walk up, points for that, and says, "You look like you needed a refill." His voice is very smooth. Too smooth. Like he practices in front of a mirror between conference calls. We start talking. Normal things at first. What do you do? Where are you from? How are you finding Miami? When I say, I'm from Buenos Aires, he lights up like I just said Paris. Oh wow, I love Argentina. The steak, the culture, the tango. Ah, see, all we do is eat meat and dance in the streets. I say deadpan. He laughs a little too hard. Then, because I am not new, I do the thing. I glance at his hands. There it is, a ring. Not subtle. Plain gold band, catching the blue neon off the bar. My eyebrows go up on reflex. "You're married," I say. Not a question. He sighs like he's been waiting his whole life for someone to ask that. Looks down at his drink, swirls the ice. "It's complicated," he says. "I'm going through a really nasty divorce right now. Custody battle, lawyers, it's been rough." He has the tone down perfectly. Not defensive, not sleazy. Just wounded enough. If I were 21 and fresh off the boat, I probably would have melted on the spot. But I'm listening for details. He tells me about the kids first. 2 of them. A boy and a girl. What are their names? I ask. He answers quickly, too quickly. The names sound like they were pulled from a Pinterest board, Liam and Bella. Okay. Sure. Later, when he mentions them again, he calls the girl Isabella like it's the most natural thing in the world. Tiny inconsistency. I file it away. He tells me how his wife blindsided him, how she changed overnight, how he's just trying to be a good father. He says good father 3 times. A little excessive. But the performance? Excellent. Eye contact. Little pauses. He even clenches his jaw at the right moments. Academy Award behavior. We end up talking for hours. For maybe 5. I finish my drink, he orders another. We switch topics, music, travel, work, but he keeps circling back to the divorce. At one point, he even gets a little teary. "I haven't really talked about this with anyone," he says. "You're easy to talk to." Of course I am. I'm Argentinian. We analyze people for sport. He walks me out at the end of the night, kisses my cheek, says, "I don't want to disrespect you given everything, but I'd really like to see you again. Just dinner. No expectations." I go home feeling weird. Flattered a little. Also heavy. It's not every night you accidentally become some guy's divorce therapist at the bar. But something is itching in the back of my mind. The timing on his stories doesn't make sense. The way he hesitated on his daughter's name. The way he leaned so hard into the sad dad angle but somehow never mentioned child support, actual legal terms, nothing specific. Only vibes. So I do what any responsible woman in 2020-something does. I open my laptop. First, Facebook. He gave me his full name. I find him in 2 seconds. Public profile. Pictures of him on boats, in suits, with colleagues. No wedding photos. No wife tagged. No kids. Not even that one blurry. Maybe that's a stroller picture. Okay, maybe he's private, I think. Some people are careful with their families. Instagram. Same story. Gym selfies. Food. Airports. 0 family content. Not even a Mother's Day post like, "To the woman who gave me my beautiful children." Nothing. Now my intuition is looking at me like, Vist? Te Dij. So I pull up an actual background check site. I am fully in noir detective mode now. Hair in a messy bun, blue laptop glow on my face. I search his name, state, approximate age. Marital records, none. Divorces, 0. Children, nothing. Custody filings, empty. He has never been married. He has no kids. According to every database that would know, this man's tragic divorce does not exist. I sit back in my chair and just stare. You expect lies about money. About age. About job titles. That's standard. But to invent a whole non-existent ex-wife and 2 imaginary children? That's committed. I tell the story to a friend a few days later, another woman from Buenos Aires who's been in Miami longer than me. She doesn't even look surprised. Ah, see, she says, sipping her cafecito. There are men who get off on that. On what? Being divorced? On being the forbidden man. The married one. The one you feel guilty about, even when they're not actually married. Yes, unfetish, beluda. They like the idea you would risk your good girl image for them. And it clicks. He didn't just lie to manipulate sympathy. He lied to create a fantasy for himself. He wanted me to see him as complicated, burdened, already belonging to someone else. He wanted to feel like the man you whisper about, the one you shouldn't touch, so that if I did, it would prove something about his desirability. I thought I'd been talking to a heartbroken father going through hell. Really, I'd been sitting with a man playing make-believe with entire human beings he never bothered to create. After that, I made a rule for myself. If a story sounds like a Netflix drama on the first date, it probably is. And if a man looks you dead in the eye, wraps his fingers around a fake wedding ring, and gives you a monologue that sounds a little too rehearsed, smile, finish your drink, and go home. Then Google him. I met Mark on one of those generic dating apps that all look the same after a while. You know the type, blue logo, too many notifications, plenty of men holding fish for unknown reasons. His profile was normal. That was the selling point. No gym selfies, no crypto investor, no God-fearing but still vibes. Just a decent-looking guy in a polo shirt, said he'd just moved back from the UK, worked in finance, liked Afrobeats and intelligent women. Ritterny. I should have logged out right there. He was the one who pushed to meet quickly. We'd only chatted for 3 days when he said, "Let's not waste time. I'm serious-minded, not here to play." In Lagos, anybody that says they're serious-minded is either married or mad. But I was bored, and he wasn't saying, "Hey dear," every 5 seconds, so I agreed. We met at a mid-range Italian place in 6, the kind of spot that pretends it's in Europe until Nipa takes light and the generator coughs like it has asthma. He was already there when I arrived, tall, dark, with that polished Ritterny accent that jumps between British and Nigerian, depending on who's listening. "Wow, you look even better than your pictures," he said, standing to hug me. The hug lingered a bit too long, but I told myself it was just culture confusion. The first 20 minutes were fine. He was funny, asked about my job, tech support for a fintech startup. I fix people's nonsense all day, and they still insult me, my family, my favorite food. He listened, laughed in the right places. Then the questions started to shift. "So where do you stay?" he asked casually. "Ogudu," I said. "On the mainland." "Nice. Your area is secure?" I shrugged. Normal Lagos secure. Gate, fence, one tired security man with torchlight. He laughed. "But your own flat, what floor?" "Second." "Ah, so if anything happens now, how will you escape? You have balcony?" "Fire exit." I smiled, but something inside me pinched. "We'll manage," I said. "God is our fire exit." He didn't laugh at that, just tilted his head. "You live alone?" I took a sip of my drink to buy time. "No. My cousin stays with me." "Lie." My cousin visited once and swore never again after traffic held her on 3rd mainland for 3 hours. "Male or female cousin?" "Female," I said. "Her boyfriend is there all the time though." Another lie. Mark smiled, but his eyes didn't. "That's good. A woman living alone in Lagos, it's not safe. You have alarm system? Cameras?" "Of course," I lied again. "My alarm system is my big mouth and my neighbor's gossip network." He kept circling back. "How many gates in my compound? How many security men? How many exits from my flat? Did my roommate work late? Did people come in and out often?" He phrased it like concern, but the way his eyes sharpened with each answer felt like he was mapping something. By dessert, my appetite had disappeared. I'd answered enough questions to pass an exam on my own kidnapping. Outside, he insisted on walking me to my Uber. I let him, public place, plenty of people, some of them even sober. At the car door, he touched my arm again and leaned in too close. "I really like you," he said softly. "I feel safe with you." Safe. The word made my skin crawl. "Yeah, cool," I muttered, practically diving into the car. As we drove off, I could see him in the side mirror, standing very still, watching the car like he was memorizing the plate number. I went home and did what every sensible Lagos babe does. I blocked him on the app and on WhatsApp before I'd even taken off my wig. Triple-checked my locks. Rolled my eyes at myself for being paranoid. The call started 2 days later. Private number. At first, I thought it was work. I picked up, heard breathing. Just breathing. Heavy like someone had been running or excited. Hello? Silence. Then the line cut. It happened again. And again. Always late at night, just after NEPA took light and before the generator kicked in, when the whole compound was in that thick, humming darkness. I told myself it could be anyone. Network glitch. Bored teenager. Nonsense spirit. I put it out of my mind. Until my book moved. I'm not a tidy person, but I'm a consistent, messy person. My things have their own nonsense order. One evening I came back from work and noticed the book I'd left on the arm of my chair was now on the coffee table, open to the middle. Maybe I'd moved it. Maybe I was tired. The next day, a picture frame on my shelf was crooked. Then the bathroom window, which I always left slightly open, was fully shut and latched. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and the air feels used? Like someone has just left? That. One Saturday night, I came home from hanging out with friends and found my front door slightly ajar. My stomach dropped. I knew I'd locked it. I always pulled it twice to make sure. I pushed it open with one finger, ready to run. The living room looked normal. TV clutter, half-dead plant. I checked the bedroom, the kitchen, under the bed. Nobody. I called the police anyway. They came, looked around with the enthusiasm of jam invigilators in the third hour. No sign of forced entry, one officer said. Maybe you didn't close it well. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled like a good girl and said thank you. I was 18, homeschooled, and one bad conversation away from moving into a van and finding myself. So I did the next worst thing and joined the military. Everybody back home said the same thing. You're the most normal homeschool kid I've ever met. And yeah, maybe on the outside. But once you got into the little cracks, relationships, boundaries, actual adult life, it was giving delayed software update. I knew if I went straight to college, I'd fly off the rails. So I picked the option where someone yells at you for doing it. That's how I ended up in tech school, bald by choice, sleep-deprived by force, sitting in a freezing briefing room with a bunch of other brand-new airmen, trying to figure out who looked like they wouldn't ruin my life. That's when I first saw Ian. He was quiet, bald, malnourished in that standard military way. I glanced at him once and thought, oh yeah, he's definitely gay, and then never thought about him again for weeks. He sat in my class, kept to himself, spoke in this weird clipped way like he'd learned English from an HR manual. Yes, ma'am. No, that is inaccurate. And then went right back to silence. Fast forward to Thanksgiving Exodus. We're half feral by this point, trying to remember what real clothes feel like. I'd just done my makeup for the first time since BMT, not in uniform, feeling myself a little bit. I'm walking to the DFAC, and this car rolls up. It's Ian. He's in civvies, looking surprisingly normal. He looks me up and down and goes, "Red, right?" in this funny not-from-anywhere accent, and we start talking. No MTLs around, no supervision, just two young idiots with too much trauma and not enough sense. We swap Snapchats. We start hanging out. At first it's just friendly, common areas, late-night conversations that we survived BMT trauma bond. I learn he's 21, from Miami, did a little bit of everything before joining. The way he talked about his life sounded like it had been written by 3 different people who never met each other, but I was lonely and he laughed at my jokes, so I didn't care. We hooked up once, and it was terrible. Like, so bad I had my finger hovering over the block button. But a girl I knew was like, the first time is always bad, don't be dramatic, so I didn't block him. We just kept hanging out, and somewhere in there, friendship turned into that stupid kind of closeness where you tell each other everything. I told him about my dad, lying to my mom about his age. I told him my golden rule, don't lie to me about stuff like that. I don't play about numbers. He nodded, all serious, filed that away. Meanwhile, he told me about his friends in Miami, his life in San Antonio, his German dad. His stories never quite stitched together, but I chalked it up to me being tired. Or dumb. Or both. We became inseparable. Weekend hotel rooms off base to feel like regular humans. Calamari at the same restaurant. Waking up at 4 a.m. to beat the line at a tiny bakery that sold out by sunrise. We started joking about getting married for orders and money. I was 19, he was 21, and on Valentine's Day he took me to our usual spot, acted all nervous, and proposed on a freezing bridge. I said yes. For like 2 weeks, I thought my life was cute. Then one night we're in my dorm room watching you. I'm talking about how Joe Goldberg reminds me of men who lie about their age, casual trauma share. I literally say, my dad lied to my mom about how old he was. That is my number one deal breaker. Don't ever do that to me. He goes quiet. He reaches over, turns off the TV, and says, I have something to tell you. My stomach dropped so hard I could hear it. I'm not 21, he says. I'm 23. I laughed in his face. You're lying. He pulls out his ID. I squint, counting backwards in my head, calendar challenged, doing mental math like it's a deployment brief. The numbers don't lie. He's older. Not by a decade, but enough that the principal is screaming. I kicked him out of my room. We had a full screaming match in the hallway. Me crying, him crying harder, babbling about some mysterious childhood concussion that made him forget his real age. He even called his mom on speaker like this was a courtroom. She shut that down immediately. So lie number one. I broke off the engagement. Still had to see him in class. He kept trying to win me back. Little notes, random acts of service, crocodile tears. I told everyone loudly that he was a liar. He kept acting like I'd overreacted to something small. Then we got a new instructor and did introductions again. Name, age, hometown. He says, I'm Ian from San Antonio. I shout, without even thinking, no you're not. Whole class laughs. He scrambles. Okay, I was born in Miami, raised in San Antonio. Later that day, a classmate from Miami pulls me aside. He told me he was from Miami at the beginning. Couldn't answer basic questions about the area. He's lying. Another classmate from San Antonio says the same thing in reverse. We corner him. He finally admits, I was actually born in New York and raised in Germany. My dad was in the military. So he's a German-American military brat. Cool. That would have actually impressed all of us. He speaks German. But instead of saying that, he invented 2 whole fake hometowns because he thought Miami sounded cooler. Lie number 2. Lie number 3. Honestly, I lost count. From there, it just escalated. Fake racist incidents. Fake award nominations. Elaborate stories about being up for Airman of the Quarter. Right down to an imaginary ceremony, an imaginary rival. I found out the truth because I knew the guy he claimed beat him, and when we called him, he was like, what are you talking about? There was no ceremony. By then, we were long distance. I found out he lied about having $10,000 in savings. It was his mom's trust for him and his brother. He came on my dream trip to Europe with maybe $500 and let me pay for almost everything, while still pretending he had it handled. When I finally cheated on him and ended things for real, he used that as emotional leverage, but he kept lying anyway. He invented a stalker who sent him my location, but the texts were written exactly like his own. I involved my command. They issued a no-contact order. 2 months later, he was engaged to someone else. And after that, he tried to contact me through her phone. That was when it finally clicked. I had not dated a messy guy who exaggerated. I had dated someone who lived in lies full-time, like reality was optional for him, like people were props in whatever story he wanted to tell that day. And me? I was just the girl who finally walked out of the movie. This was freshman year. Campus men? Washed. Like, I don't know what's in the dining hall food, but apparently it kills chivalry. Everybody was either chilling, not looking for anything serious, or emotionally attached to their frat brothers. So I did what every delusional 20-something does at least once. I downloaded every dating app in the App Store like I was applying for a job. Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, all of them. But this story is about Hinge. We match. He's Army. Cute in a clean cut. My mom still folds my towels like this kind of way. Dark hair, nice smile, pictures with his dog, and not a single fishing picture. Off rip, I'm like, okay God, I see you. We move from the app to iMessage, start texting for real. He's funny, asks good questions, doesn't send the WID paragraph 15 times in a row. Bare minimum, yes, but you know the bar is in hell. First date, he picks a nice spot, pays for dinner without being weird about it, walks me back to my dorm, hugs, no pressure. Then it turns into a thing. Movie nights. Late night talks. He brings me flowers just because. Shows up with snacks during midterms. Plays with my hair while we watch Netflix. I meet his dog, who, by the way, had more emotional intelligence than half the people I know. So at this point, I'm like, wow, maybe it's me. Maybe good men actually exist, and I was just dating on the wrong Wi-Fi. Weeks go by. We're not official, but it's giving. If you talk to somebody else, I'll be hurt. He's posting me on close friends. He's talking future plans, trips, all that. My Caribbean mother is suspicious by default, but even she's like, well, at least he brings you home before midnight. Then one day we're just texting, regular conversation, and he goes, do you have Snapchat? Now I do, but my Snapchat is basically a museum. I use it for the memories from high school and the occasional ugly filter selfie. So I tell him that, yeah, but I don't really use it like that. He says, add me. Cool. I add him. He pops up right away, little bitmoji smiling at me. I'm expecting like a selfie. Maybe a dog pic. Something cute. He sends me a video. I open it. It's him. In a bedroom. Having sex with another girl. Like high definition, full sound, her face visible, his face visible. Not a random video he found, not cropped, not vague. No. It is him. It is somebody's daughter. It is happening. And underneath it, his caption, can I do this to you whenever we link? My soul actually left my body for a second. I am staring at my phone like it just called me a slur. I don't respond. I don't react. My Caribbean brain is buffering like, Father God, give me strength because if I answer right now it's going to be a felony. After about 30 seconds of me not answering, he double snaps. Hello? Eyes. That was it. I blocked him on Snapchat. Immediately. Then I went to iMessage. Blocked. Instagram. Blocked. Hinge. Unmatched. TikTok. Blocked. I cleaned him out of my digital life like a virus. I thought that was the end. It was not the end. Couple days later, I get a text from a random number. Hey, it's me. Why did you block me? Delete. Block. 30 minutes later, another number. Wow, you're really going to ignore me after everything? That video wasn't even recent. You're overreacting. Block. Then it escalates. Every time I block a number, another one appears. Text now energy. Different area codes. Same typing style. Same punctuation. Same LOL and NAFR. He's apologizing in one message and cussing me out in the next. It's like arguing with a group chat that's just him. Baby, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. You act like you're perfect. You're really going to throw away what we had over one thing. I knew you were dramatic, but damn. Back to, please unblock me. Please. I'll do better. I'm not responding to any of this. Silence. He's having a full conversation with himself in my messages app like it's a diary. Then he upgrades the creep factor. I log into Facebook, where I have not posted since the Obama administration, and there he is in my message requests. Hey, it's me. I just want to talk. Block. TikTok. He finds my account and messages me there. Why are you doing this? I'm a good guy. Sir, you sent me your sex tape with another woman and pitched it like a business proposal. The part that really got me, though, my business email. This man went to my TikTok bio, clicked my little business inquiries email, the one I use for brand deals and school stuff, and sent a whole paragraph like it was a corporate complaint. Subject, please unblock me. Body, long apology, love bombing, guilt trips. I think we have something real. You're the only person who understands me. I didn't mean any harm. You're being immature for blocking me everywhere. At that point, it stopped being messy and started being scary. My phone would light up in a dark room, and my chest would get tight, because it was always him. New name, new number, same energy. Eventually I replied once. Just once. I said, do not contact me again on any platform. This is harassment. I will go to the police if you continue. After that, it slowed down. He still tried from a few more random numbers, but when I didn't budge, it tapered off. Months went by. I moved on, dated other people, healed, clown-chatted with my friends about my canon event. We didn't even know each other's middle names. That's the part one keep coming back to. Her name was Kelly, and we met on a Thursday night when I was bored, a little wine-warmed, and unreasonably optimistic about dating apps. She had a sharp smile, a bio that said no Capricorns, I lied, and a photo where she was holding a falcon. I thought, either she's got stories or she's unhinged in a way I can manage. We matched. We met. Drinks turned into more drinks, which turned into a long walk, which turned into her leaning in and saying, your apartment or mine? Her voice was low, confident, like this wasn't her first time, making someone feel like the answer was obvious. We went to my place. She kicked her shoes off like she owned the floor. We kissed like we'd had a fight in a past life. It was fast, clumsy, and a little too intense for people who hadn't learned each other's last names yet. She kept laughing, even while kissing me. Not in a mocking way, more like she was in on a joke that hadn't been told yet. We fell asleep tangled up in each other somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m. after she whispered something about Saturn returns that I didn't fully understand. In the morning, I made coffee. She was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed in my shirt, staring at the floor like she was decoding static. I asked if she wanted breakfast. She said no. Then she looked at me, dead serious, and said, "I'm pregnant." I blinked. She didn't smile, didn't flinch, just stared at me like she'd just told me the weather. "Wait, what?" She nodded. "I took a test before I came over." I stood there holding 2 mugs of coffee, suddenly unsure whether to hand her one or pour them both over my own head. "We met less than 12 hours ago." "I know," she said calmly. "Timing is strange. I mean, that's not how it works, right?" I laughed nervously. "You don't get pregnant and then go on a date." "Why not?" she said, eyes wide. "People do stranger things all the time." And then, as if she hadn't just detonated a reality grenade in my bedroom, she stood up, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "You're sweet." I followed her to the door, still holding both coffees. She put her shoes back on. No rush, like she had a cab waiting or a schedule to keep. "Wait," I said. "Are you serious?" She nodded, tying her hair up with a velvet scrunchie. The gesture felt weirdly ceremonial. "Why did you tell me?" I asked. She shrugged. "Felt right. Are you saying it's mine?" That made her laugh. A soft, musical sound that made me feel like I'd just asked if clouds had feelings. "No," she said, "but you're the first person I wanted to tell." Then she opened the door and walked out. No number. No last name. No Falcon. Just the scent of her shampoo on my pillow and a statement that echoed in my brain like a riddle. I waited. I texted her 5 hours later. No response. I called. Straight to voicemail. I even checked the app. Her profile was gone. I tried to convince myself it was a joke. A weird, performance art level joke. Maybe she was testing my reaction. Maybe she was writing a book. Maybe she was studying human responses to unexpected vulnerability. But then I remembered her face. The stillness. The certainty. The way she said it without blinking. I walked around for days feeling like I'd been given a secret I wasn't supposed to hear. I started dreaming about her, always at a distance, always turning a corner just before I could ask her anything. I told one friend. He said, "She's messing with you." I told another. She said, "Maybe she just needed to say it out loud." Neither answer helped. I started checking faces on the street, looking for her, wondering if she'd show up again to update me, 6 months pregnant, standing under a streetlight, asking if I remembered her. She didn't. But once, a few weeks later, I opened a random drawer in my bathroom and found a tube of lipstick I didn't recognize. Pale mauve. The kind of color you only wear if you're sure of your mouth. I don't know if she left it on purpose. I kept it anyway. I matched with Idris because he looked normal. That's how low the bar was. He had clear skin, a neutral smile, and a bio that said "Plant Dad, good listener, emotionally available, unless I'm watching F1. He seemed harmless, like a guy who owned throw pillows and paid his taxes early. We met at his place for Thai takeout and wine. I know, rookie move, but we'd FaceTimed twice, and he had a cat named Chaucer. Anyone who names their cat after a medieval poet can't be dangerous, right? Wrong. He opened the door wearing joggers, a Henley, and the kind of cologne that says, "I'm not a serial killer, but I'd like you to wonder anyway." Chaucer the cat was perched on the windowsill like a tiny judge. Dinner was fine. We talked about TV shows, travel, and how his last relationship ended because she didn't respect the sanctity of brunch. I laughed. He laughed. The wine flowed. I started to relax. Then it got weird. We were sitting on the floor, eating pad see ew off ceramic plates like we were in a poorly funded indie film. Idris was telling a story about growing up in the Midwest when Chaucer jumped onto the couch and let out a long, slow meow. Idris paused mid-sentence. He turned to the cat. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. "Hear what?" He stared at Chaucer. "That meow. It's the sound of longing." I chuckled. "Okay, Shakespeare." He didn't laugh. He turned back to me, eyes glassy. "My therapist says I project desires onto Chaucer, that I use him as a vessel for suppressed emotional expression." I nodded slowly. "That's specific." "I think he meows when he senses intimacy. Or hunger." "No," Idris said firmly. "It's deeper than that." Chaucer meowed again. Idris closed his eyes. "It's happening," he whispered. "What's happening?" "The resonance." I stared at him. Are you okay? He opened his eyes and looked at me like I'd just asked if water was wet. Don't you feel it? The vibration? The alignment? I feel a little confused. He reached for my hand. Sometimes, when Chaucer meows like that, it means I'm about to have a breakthrough. Emotionally. Or otherwise. Otherwise? He didn't answer. Instead, he stood up, walked to the cat, and knelt like he was about to propose. Speak your truth, he whispered. Chaucer meowed. Idris shivered. I considered leaving. Then he turned to me and said, You smell like trust. I blinked. What? I'd like to touch your aura. With permission. I think I'm gonna go. He walked toward me slowly, hands raised like he was holding a fragile vase. Wait. Please. I need you to hear something. He grabbed his phone, tapped the screen, and played an audio file. It was a recording of Chaucer meowing. Repetitively. Looped. For 45 seconds. I stared at him. He stared at me. Chaucer stared at both of us. This is our song, Idris whispered. That's a cat. Meowing. It's more than a meow. It's a call. A frequency. A meowgasm. I'm sorry, did you just say meowgasm? He nodded. It's the climax of emotional frequency between man, feline, and guest. Guest. Not woman. Not partner. Guest. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and said, Chaucer deserves better. Idris looked stunned. But you haven't even seen the poem I wrote based on his tail movements. I have to go. My aura is leaking. He followed me to the door, holding his phone out like a peace offering. Just listen to the end. There's a meow at the 30-second mark that changed my life. I left before he could finish the sentence. He texted me the next morning. Chaucer meowed at my bedroom door all night. He's never done that before. He misses your energy. Blocked. He invited me to a dinner party on our third date. Most people ease into that. Coffee. Drinks. A movie where you pretend not to notice they're crying during the previews. But not Jeffrey. Jeffrey believed in radical transparency, which I assumed meant therapy speak and maybe a weird number of throw pillows. I didn't realize it meant introducing me to 8 of his closest friends and 1 ex-girlfriend over a lentil cassoulet. He lived in a loft that looked like an Airbnb owned by someone who cried to Bon Iver. Edison bulbs. Plants that looked expensive. A bookshelf labeled emotional labor. I brought a bottle of wine. He greeted me with a kiss on the cheek and a whispered, You're brave for coming. What? Nothing. Come in. The guests were already seated. There was a name card for me. A name. Card. I sat between a woman named Jules who wore a necklace shaped like a uterus and a man named Troy who looked like he'd fought in a war. But only internally. Jeffrey stood at the head of the table, beaming. Tonight, he said, is about connection, vulnerability, and carbs. Everyone clapped, unironically. Then the toasts began. Not bread. Declarations. Each guest stood, one by one, and offered a toast not to Jeffrey but to concepts. To softness, said Jules, raising her glass. To the death of performative masculinity, said Troy. To the moon's pull on our fluids, said someone named Kel. I smiled, nodded, drank. A lot. Then came the food. Jeffrey emerged from the kitchen holding a dish that looked like it had been blessed by a French witch. Cassoulet, he announced. Made with heirloom legumes and metaphysical intention. We served ourselves. I took a small portion. It tasted like sadness and cumin. Halfway through the meal, someone asked how Jeffrey and I met. Dating app, I said. Jeffrey smiled. But not just any app. We matched during Mercury retrograde, which means our connection is karmic. I sipped more wine. Then his ex spoke. Yes, well, Mercury also ruled our relationship. Until it combusted. Silence. Jeffrey nodded solemnly. We grew. We evolved. I'm grateful for every rupture. She looked at me and said, He cries after sex. Just so you know. I laughed. No one else did. Jules touched my arm. This is a safe space. But please don't mock grief. I apologized. To the room. Like I was on trial. Then came the second course, a salad with pomegranate seeds, goat cheese, and surprise, an edible flower. There's a story behind this flower, Jeffrey said. It bloomed the day I stopped apologizing for my needs. Everyone clapped again. I chewed the flower. It tasted like paper and regret. Dessert was a single fig split in half, drizzled with something unholy, and described as a metaphor. By then, I was tipsy and unhinged. So when Jeffrey asked if I wanted to offer a toast, I stood up. I raised my glass and said, To boundaries. and silence, and the courage to admit that cassoulet is just bean soup with delusions of grandeur. No one clapped. Jeffrey looked like I'd kicked his spirit animal. I sat down. We didn't speak for the rest of the night. As I left, he handed me a Tupperware of leftovers and said, "I hope you find your softness." I threw it away 2 blocks later. He texted me the next day. "You have potential, but your energy needs seasoning. F off, sir." I was in my 3rd year at college and had just become the president of the anime club. Most of the members had graduated last year, so I was determined to recruit as many new members as possible. And my way of doing that was to befriend them and give them more of a reason to show up every week. But that backfired with one woman. I'll call her Paige. Paige was a freshman, and according to others, was in love with me from the moment she met me. Shortly after the semester started, it had gotten out that I'd broken up with my girlfriend over the summer. What hadn't gotten out was that the reason I broke up with her was because I finally came out as gay to myself. Only 3 people knew at that point, my 2 best friends and my ex. Now that the club knew I was single, there were apparently a few girls that had a thing for me, because Paige actually started a fistfight on campus when she overheard another club member say she was going to ask me out. The only reason I knew this was because one of my best friends was actually in the bathroom when it happened and was the one to call campus security. But that wasn't the end of it. Whenever the club members ate lunch or dinner at the student commons, Paige would make sure to sit as close as possible to me, and would laugh way too hard at everything I said and touch my arm/shoulder/body as many times as she could. She even went so far as to put her hand on my inner thigh once. She would have gone all the way to the groin if I hadn't stood up and walk away. She then chased after me and forced her arms around me and wouldn't let go until I accepted her apology. When I would hang out with other club members, she'd always find out and force herself to come along. Me and my best friends had a tradition of watching Disney movies every Saturday night to de-stress and would invite other friends to it. So of course Paige showed up. She also would make sure to comment throughout the whole movie about how she was like the princess/heroine and I was like the prince/hero. She'd also make sure to slowly scoot closer to me throughout the movie. When we watched Brave, I got up and changed seats 3 different times just to get away from her. She even showed up outside my best friend's dorm room when it was just me and 2 friends and basically forced her way into the room. My best friends had known about my run-ins with Paige ever since the hand on the thigh incident, so they ended up hanging out early just to get rid of her. Paige even started hanging out my dorm building, even though her dorm was on the other side of campus. I used to just keep my door propped open because the AC sucked, and then my other friends in the building could just drop in whenever. But ever since the first time she waltzed into my room, I stopped doing that and made my friends text me when they got outside. I also wore headphones whenever I was on my laptop or listening to music, because if Paige was outside and heard movement, she would hang on the door until I could text my floor's advisor to get rid of her. About halfway through the year, she asked me when I was going to ask her out, and I straight up said never, I'm gay. And her response was, "Oh, I can fix that." Enough was enough at that point. I had come out to a majority of my friends at this point, so I got them all together and told them about everything to do with Paige. They formed the anti-Paige defense squad and made sure that whenever we were out, in the club, at lunch/dinner, or just hanging out, I would always have the seats next to me filled with one of them. There was actually a time when we were at Dairy Queen, and she literally popped into existence next to our table. One friend even started throwing herself into my lap whenever Paige showed up, just to try and deter her. Paige didn't give up until the end of the year. It was finals week, and I had an 8 a.m. final one day, so I forced myself to eat breakfast that day, even though I normally don't. I found only one friend for breakfast, and we grabbed a table far from the entrance and out of view. Regardless, Paige found us and announced her finals were already done and would be moving out of her dorm today. She forced me to promise her that I would be there to see her off. Obviously, I didn't and stayed with a friend off campus until the end of the day. I also blocked in my phone and ignored her FB friend request since I no longer had any obligation to her as club president over the summer. I moved off campus for my 4th year and found out that she had moved into the dorm I'd previously been living in, so I don't think she gave up right away. One of my nosy friends is still FB friends with Paige and keeps me updated. Paige had started dating another guy from the anime club a few months into her 2nd year and eventually married him in her 3rd year. He's actually 7 years older than her, and we know he used to beat his old girlfriend. She even posted to FB, right, she lost her virginity to him in detail. We even found out they have a kid on the way, so even though none of my friends nor I like Paige, we hope that she and that poor kid aren't going to be in any danger or taken advantage of. Bonus, Paige was going to be a teacher, but she was fired from her job as a lifeguard/swim instructor at the university pool because she couldn't handle children in a professional manner. Plus, she got caught shoplifting from the student store once, and her reason being that since she was going to be a teacher, she needed to get those bad impulses out of her system now. Double bonus, that girl that Paige got into a fistfight with, she asked me out during my 4th year of college in front of the whole club. That's when I formally came out to the entire anime club, not just my friend circle within the club. Last year I dated this one girl for a few weeks. She was a nice girl, but there were some obvious red flags that slowly cropped up over the weeks. Overall, it was because she had absolutely no life, no interests, no friends, and she had close to a tantrum when I tried introducing her to my friends. No hobbies besides reality television, still working at her high school fast food job despite being 32. She was upset when we broke up, but overall didn't make a huge deal over it. She wanted to stay in contact, but we lost touch almost immediately, as I did not want to drag anything out. 6 months later I was back to dating, and had made it official with a different girl. While out at a friend's house one night, I decided to take a selfie of us and throw it on Facebook. In the morning my girlfriend alerted me to a nasty comment left by the previous girl. It was middle school level stuff. She outright insulted my girlfriend, saying literally, "Ew, she has big teeth," adding that she thought she was going to have second chance with me. Keep in mind, we had absolutely zero communication in those 6 months. Never once did I give her the impression I was interested in seeing her again. I was super pissed at her for the teeth comment, and my GF was a little upset, but at least we've gotten a lot of laughs out of it since then. Glad I dodged that bullet. I'm actually sparing you guys a ton of details. There were lots of tiny things she did while we were dating that made me realize how much of a loser she really was, but I don't have time to type up an entire essay on it. To follow up, I'll share some more details. To be perfectly honest, I actually left out all the details that made her creepy, and not just some asshole girl. Met this girl through online dating. She's cute and friendly. First 2 dates go smoothly. She's a lot less wild than me, but otherwise nothing awkward. She told me she wanted to get married at her great-uncle's church, by her great-uncle, pushing like 90 years old. I told her I'm agnostic on the first date, but for the right person, I figured I could warm to the idea. Hey, gotta be flexible in dating, right? 3rd date it gets weird. She asked me to go to church with her one Sunday. Her great-uncle's church. Also, it turns out the church staff is pretty much most of her gigantic extended family. Her great-uncle delivers a sermon about how hell is a real place, and you will go there if you sin. Meet like 15 of her extended relatives. They're all super friendly in that stiff church-y way. I have the social skills to schmooze with strangers easily, but I was deaf uncomfortable. Plans are for a corn maze after. This was September, with her co-workers from her fast food job. On the way she tells me she thinks we're ready for the L level. Yes, that's how it was phrased. This is when sirens start to flash red. Told her I wanted to wait and see. At the corn maze, her co-workers are all in their early 20s or younger. We are probably the 2 oldest people there minus their supervisor. I attempt to socialize. She does not. On the way home, asks if I plan to be at Thanksgiving with her. Remember, this is September still, and our 3rd date. I remind her that this is our 3rd date. She barely knows anything about me at all, she really didn't, and that I'd think about it as the day approached. Tell her the next day via text we need to pump the brakes. She understands, but then follows up saying she's looking forward to our journey together. Sirens flashing louder. I tell her how important my friends are to me. Like, I constantly see a large circle of people across multiple days of the week, pre-quarantine. I told her on our first date that the make or break was if she could be friends with them too. Start to notice she never mentions any of her own friends. 5th date, introducing her to 4 of my friends. Not just nervous, but has a mini meltdown. Take her to my room so she can calm down. Starts to sing songs from The Sound of Music, her absolute favorite movie, to try to self-soothe, yes really. She gets freaked out by my friend's tattoos. The tattoo in question was a sleeve of Tetris blocks. Yes, we are very dorky people. Final date, she takes me to a huge benefit event for one of her cousins who died. Meet like 30 more extended family. Literally get introduced to all of them, and then we make no attempts to socialize with anyone. I can't handle that type of boredom. I point to a table of people around our age with a bunch of beer cans at their table. Looks like they're having a great time. I believe she called them the popular kids, and doesn't want to go over. She is 32 years old. Asks me if I want to make it official, and reminds me that she doesn't break up with her boyfriends. Later on asks what a reasonable timeline is for when couples should move in. Breakup call happened the next day. I know looking back at all of that, most people would have left before all that. Truth be told, she was my first real attempt at finding a long-term partner after having dated very few people over the years. I wasn't really sure what to expect, so I was trying to be as flexible as possible. Also, I don't think she really knew what she was doing was weird and pushy. I got the impression she was from a very traditional family and had her own set of ideas of what dating was meant to lead to, and was just pursuing that end. I think in her mind, things like a career, passion, or friends just wasn't as important as starting a family. I also suspect she stopped growing personally around high school because she never had to push herself while waiting for Mr. Right. When she wasn't doing her weird shit, she was a decent person to be around, before she insulted my girlfriend, that is. And she was pretty good in bed, surprisingly. Fenric arrived at the wine bar wearing a sweater vest. That alone should have been the first red flag. No one under 70 wears a sweater vest unironically, unless they're about to confess something that requires therapy and a safe word. But he was tall, had nice teeth, and his profile mentioned he loved art house films and deep conversations. I assumed that meant he'd be emotionally literate, maybe had cried during a documentary or two. Instead, I got Oedipus light. He greeted me with a side hug that lingered just a second too long, a whiff of lavender and dryer sheets clinging to him like someone had Febrezed his entire soul. He pulled out my chair for me. "Chivalry's not dead," he said. "My mom raised me right." Cute, I thought. Sweet. Naive. Like a man who still thinks women want to hear about their mothers over Merlot. We ordered drinks and settled into what I assumed would be a normal date. It started off promising. Fenric talked about his job, something in UX design, and how he volunteered on weekends at a cat shelter. I nodded along, sipping my wine, thinking he was the kind of guy who'd offer to build you an app and then hold your hand during a panic attack. Then came the slip. I asked him if he cooked. "Oh yeah," he said. "I make a killer lasagna. My mom taught me. She makes everything from scratch. You'd love her. She's got your energy." I blinked. "What energy?" "You know." He gestured vaguely at my face. "Soft eyes. Nurturing presence. Kind of maternal." I smiled politely but filed that away in my internal red flag folder, just below quotes Jordan Peterson ironically, and owns more than one sword. We moved on. Sort of. Every few minutes, he'd drop another mom comment. "That's funny, my mom also hates olives." "Oh my god, you eat with your fork upside down." "So does my mom." You've got her laugh. It's comforting. By the time we ordered a charcuterie board, I was starting to feel like I was competing with a woman who wasn't even in the room. Then it happened. I asked him what he was looking for relationship-wise. He took a long sip of wine, set his glass down gently and said, "Honestly, I want someone who gets me the way my mom does." I smiled, trying not to scream. "Like, emotionally?" He nodded. "Emotionally. Spiritually. Like, she always knows when I'm off. Like that time in college, I broke up with my girlfriend, and my mom drove 3 hours just to cook me chili and rub my back. That's the kind of connection I want." "That's intense," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "I don't think it's weird," he continued, completely ignoring the fact that my body was now tense like a cat in a bathtub. "Freud said all men are looking for their mother in a partner." "Freud also said a lot of things," I replied. "Most of them shouldn't be repeated over charcuterie." He laughed. "You're funny. My mom's funny too." I considered stabbing myself with a cocktail pickle. Then, as if the universe wanted to test my patience, his phone lit up on the table with a contact photo of, yes, his mother. He turned the screen toward me. "She's beautiful, right?" I nodded, unsure if I was being shown a family portrait or a warning. "She's coming to town next week," he continued. "You should meet her." I choked slightly on a piece of prosciutto. "We just met tonight." Which makes it perfect. She can tell if someone's good for me within 5 minutes. That's terrifying. It's a gift. We sat in silence for a beat. I sipped my wine. He stared at me with doe-eyed longing, like I'd just read him a bedtime story and tucked him in. Then, out of nowhere, he said it. "Well, Mom, what do you think?" I froze. I what? He blinked. Oh God. I meant to say Madeline. Sorry. You remind me of her so much. There it was. The Freudian slip. I stared at him, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or call the Department of Mental Health. He looked mortified, but also, not entirely. I guess that's a compliment, I said slowly. It is, he said earnestly. She's the most important woman in my life. I stood up. Where are you going? He asked. To the bathroom. Want me to walk you? No. I stayed in that bathroom for 10 minutes, staring at myself in the mirror and wondering if I could crawl out the window and fake my own death. When I returned, I said I had an early meeting. He looked disappointed. Will I see you again? I don't think I can compete with your mom. He smiled wistfully. No one ever really can. I left. He texted me 2 hours later. Great connection tonight. My mom says you have excellent bone structure. Blocked. But sometimes when I hear the word lasagna, I get a little nauseous. Because I remember Fenric, the man who didn't just want a girlfriend. He wanted a mother in a cocktail dress. We agreed to meet at Starbucks. Classic neutral ground. Public enough to feel safe, caffeinated enough to keep me from bailing after 10 minutes. I got there early, like always. I have punctuality anxiety and a deep-seated fear of people thinking I'm flaky. I ordered a black coffee, no fancy syrup, no foam art. Just bitter bean juice to remind me this was real life and not a dream sequence. I took a seat by the window, scrolling through my phone to avoid eye contact with the baristas, who were already judging my lack of personality based on my beverage choice. And then she arrived. Airless. That was her name. I'd never met anyone named Airless before. It sounded like something you'd name a moon goddess or a very expensive skincare product. Her profile had been a chaotic mix of blurry selfies, cryptic captions, and one video of her doing karaoke in what looked like a funeral home. I should have been more suspicious. She walked in like she was entering a music video. Tight red dress. Heels that made her legs look like weapons. And confidence, weaponized, unapologetic confidence. She saw me, smiled, and then did something that immediately obliterated my sense of reality. She sat in my lap. No hello. No handshake. No, is this seat taken? She just plopped herself down like I was a bar stool with a pulse. My brain short-circuited. I said eloquently. Hi, she purred, wrapping one arm around my shoulders. You smell like someone who flosses. Thank you. I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a hygiene-oriented pickup line. She waved at the barista over my head and yelled, "One Veni dirty chai for Airless, extra dirty like me." The barista blinked. I blinked. My genitals blinked. I felt like I'd been thrown into an improv scene with no prep and a horny co-star. She turned back to me. I like to establish physical intimacy early. It builds trust. Okay, that's certainly a theory. She giggled and leaned closer. Her perfume was aggressive, like vanilla extract had gone to Burning Man. She began stroking my hair, which would have been cute if we'd known each other longer than the time it takes to microwave a burrito. You have very submissive eyebrows, she said. I didn't know what that meant. I still don't. But before I could ask for clarification or a restraining order, her name was called. She bounced up, grabbed her drink, and turned back to me. Let's go to the park. I what? She was already walking out the door. I should have stayed behind. I should have hidden in the bathroom and called an Uber under a fake name. But instead, I followed her like a dumb puppy with a caffeine addiction. She walked fast, talking nonstop as we headed toward the park. I love nature. It's the only thing that doesn't ghost me, she said. Well, except that one tree that fell on my ex's car. That felt personal. We reached the park and she immediately veered off the path, leading me to a grassy patch near a pond. Let's sit, she announced. There were benches. There were clean, dry benches. But no. She plopped down on the grass, hiked up her dress, and patted the ground beside her like she was inviting me to join a cult. I sat, hesitantly. She leaned her head on my shoulder and let out a dramatic sigh. Doesn't this feel like a movie? Sort of, I said. Like the kind where someone gets murdered and their ghost solves the crime. She giggled. You're funny. I like that. You're not like other guys. They're always so scared of me. Why would they be scared of you? She turned to face me, eyes wide. Because I come on strong. No way. She didn't laugh. Instead, she leaned in and whispered, Do you want to be my boyfriend? I choked. I just met you. So, she said, love is just fear that's been edged. I don't think that's how feelings work. It is if you're brave. She grabbed my hand and placed it dramatically over her heart. Feel it. That's real. I felt her heartbeat. I also felt panic. My fight or flight response was doing jumping jacks. I think I should probably head out, I said. She stood up and blocked my path. Already? But we haven't even kissed in public yet. I don't think that's a requirement. She crossed her arms. Are you rejecting me? In a park? I'm not rejecting you. I'm just postponing any future lap-based adventures. She narrowed her eyes. Fine. But just know, you're missing out on something beautiful. Then, in full view of ducks, joggers, and a man feeding squirrels with dead eyes, she leaned in and licked my cheek. Not kissed. Licked. It was not erotic. It felt like a damp challenge. I backed away slowly, muttering something about an emergency dentist appointment, and practically jogged out of the park. She texted me later that night. You broke the spell. But I forgive you. Want to try again tomorrow? I didn't respond. I blocked her number, deleted the app, and spent the next week avoiding all Starbucks locations within a 10-mile radius. But sometimes, when I pass a park bench or see a red dress in the distance, I flinch. Because I remember how quickly a casual coffee turned into an unsolicited lap dance and a public cheek licking. And I remember Airless, the woman who believed that love was best served extra dirty, in a cup with your dignity on the side. I met Thorn on an app that's basically Tinder's older, less desperate cousin. The kind where people pretend they're there for connections and shared values, but are really just hoping the algorithm matches them with someone who won't ghost them before Wednesday. We had matched together on a Tuesday. By Thursday, we were texting like high schoolers who just discovered emojis. He made me laugh, which is rare. I'm not saying I'm comedy-proof, but most guys lead with "you up" and think it's Shakespeare. After about 6 days of chatting, memes, a startling number of avocado references, and one weirdly deep conversation about whether dogs dream in color, we agreed to meet in person. He suggested a restaurant that was just upscale enough to feel like an effort had been made, but not so bougie that I needed to remortgage my future. I wore my, I'm not trying too hard but also I'm trying just the right amount outfit, black jeans, a low-cut top that hinted at cleavage without screaming please validate me, and boots that were cute but didn't scream I might run off mid-date, which, in hindsight, would have been ironic. Thorn was already there when I arrived. He stood to greet me like some kind of gentleman, which momentarily short-circuited my brain. I wasn't used to men who didn't greet me with a wave from behind their phones. He smelled good, like cedar and some cologne that probably had a name like Rogue Ember or Midnight Regret. The first hour of the date felt like a rom-com montage. We joked about why restaurant bread always tastes better than homemade, it's the forbidden carbs, teased each other over travel stories, and even got a little flirty. I remember thinking, okay, maybe the algorithm isn't completely drunk. I had just finished my second glass of wine, feeling warm, relaxed, and slightly buzzed enough to consider letting him see my real laugh, when things took a turn. Thorn glanced at his phone with a frown. I didn't think much of it. People check their phones all the time. Maybe he was getting an annoying, "Your screen time is up 23%, notification, or his fantasy football team was crashing. Then he excused himself to go to the bathroom. Again, normal. We'd had appetizers. Maybe the truffle fries were fighting back. 10 minutes passed. I scrolled through Instagram, resisting the urge to take a selfie at the table like a first date loser. 15 minutes. I sipped water. 20. I started wondering if he'd died in there. Did I need to alert staff? Maybe he'd slipped and cracked his head, and I'd be the girl who tried to flirt with a corpse. I texted him. Everything okay? No response. 5 more minutes. No sign of Thorn. I asked the waitress, who had already side-eyed me twice like she sensed I was about to become a solo dining statistic, if she'd seen him leave. She shook her head. I laughed awkwardly. Probably just a long pee, I said, as if that made it better. 30 minutes. The waitress dropped the check. I stared at it like it was a breakup letter. I wasn't going to pay for his meal. I'm progressive, not a sugar mama. I asked if they could split the check. The waitress smiled like she'd done this before. I wondered how many other women had sat here, abandoned mid-date by men with disappearing acts and commitment issues. I paid for my half, left a decent tip, because service workers deserve better than my awkward shame, and walked out. I did a lap around the parking lot just in case Thorn was lurking, maybe taking a call or being kidnapped by a slow-moving cult. Nothing. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A text. From him. Finally. I opened it, ready for some dramatic excuse, an emergency, food poisoning, maybe a rogue ferret attack. Instead, it read, "Sorry I had to go. Didn't think you'd notice. Hope you get home safe." I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, while my brain tried to catch up. Didn't think I'd notice? What was I, a ghost? A background extra in my own date? I blocked him immediately, not out of rage, but because I didn't want his weird brand of passive-aggressive cowardice infecting my contacts. That night, I laid in bed thinking about him. Not in a romantic way, more like the way you think about a weird dream that leaves you unsettled. The more I thought about it, the more disturbing it felt. He hadn't just left. He'd vanished. No explanation. No closure. And the creepiest part? I couldn't remember his face. I tried, really tried, to picture it. I remembered the stubble, the smirk, the way he said espresso instead of espresso, a rare green flag. But the details were fading. It was like my brain had decided he wasn't worth the storage space. I thought about telling my friends, but how do you explain that you were ghosted mid-date by a man who may or may not have been a figment of your imagination? 2 months passed. I moved on. Swiped on. Went on other dates, most were boring. One tried to sell me crypto, and one brought his mom, not kidding. Then one night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "I didn't want you to find out like this. It's better you don't know. Thorn." I threw my phone across the bed like it was cursed. Then I picked it up because I'm dramatic, not reckless. I reread the message a dozen times. What didn't he want me to know? Why was he texting me after ghosting me like a magician with intimacy issues? I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. I'd already wasted enough emotional energy on a man who treated a date like an escape room. But the unease lingered. Not fear, exactly. Just offness. Like I'd brushed up against something I wasn't supposed to see. I still think about that night sometimes. Not because I miss Thorn. Hell no. But because it made me question how we connect with people now. One moment you're sharing stories over wine. The next you're wondering if the guy you just laughed with even existed. Dating in the app era feels like a weird game of roulette. You spin the wheel and hope you don't land on someone who disappears mid-entree. I've learned to spot red flags more quickly now. If he won't show his teeth in photos, red flag. If his bio says sapiosexual or CEO of vibes, redder flag. If he suggests meeting at a place with no windows, run. But Thorn? He wasn't a red flag. He was a blank screen. No warning. No goodbye. Just a man-shaped glitch in the system. And honestly, the next time someone asks me what the worst date of my life was, I'll say, the one where I was left with the check, a ghost, and the unsettling suspicion that I might have hallucinated the whole damn thing. And then I'll laugh. Because what else can you do when a date ends with a vanishing act and a cryptic text message from beyond the social abyss? At least he wished me a safe trip home. Chivalry's not dead. It just ghosted me mid-dinner.